Welcome to the campus of St. John's University, where Belsom Stadium will be the stage tonight for this meeting between NYCFC 2 and Chicago Fire 2. It's been a rainy and humid day in Queens, New York, with storms coming and going in the area all day long. It's currently about 81 degrees, 90% humidity. Still a chance for rain as the night goes on, but we are clear for kickoff as of now. Happy to have you with us on this match day 17 of MLS Next Pro. I'm Marissa Pilla. Tonight is a matchup between the 9th place Chicago Fire and 6th place NYCFC. Currently, New York is 1 point ahead of Atlanta, who holds the final playoff position in the East, while Chicago only trails a playoff spot by just 1 point. And stop me if you've heard this one before, but Crown Legacy FC still sits atop the East with a league best 41 points and 12 wins. This is the first meeting of these two sides this season, with each of these teams meeting twice last year. Both of those meetings were high-scoring games, with New York taking the first match in a 3-0 victory here at Belsom Stadium, and then Chicago returning the favorite last August with a 5-0 victory at SeatGeek Stadium. New York enters tonight with 1 win and 2 losses in their last 3, while Chicago has 1 loss and drawn in their last 3 matches. Here's a look at how the home side is lining up in a 4-3-3 formation. Academy product Alex Yagudeyev starting in net for New York. This is his 10th start of the season and has yet to record a clean sheet. Center back Sam Owusu opened up scoring for New York last week against New York Red Bulls. Midfielder Jake Beer leads the league with 7 assists. And this team is led by Matthew Dylan Myers, who is in a 5-way tie for the Golden Boot race with 10 goals so far this year. As for the visitors, Chicago Fire 2 lining up in their fourth different formation in as many matches, this week going with a 4-3-3. The Fire have made 4 changes to their lineup that started against Cincinnati last week, including goalkeeper Miha Miskovic making his 7th start this season. Midfielder Charlie Ostrom leads the team with 4 goals, and winger Misiel Rodriguez makes his 6th start of the season on the right flank. Head referee tonight is Alex Beher, assistant referee Zeno Cho and Robert Cordray, and the 4th official tonight is Ho Zhang. NYCFC are coming off a huge win against interstate rival New York Red Bulls to a 3-2 victory last week. After that match, head coach Matt Pilkington said they need to be more consistent in their play. He said the fight that his team showed was excellent, but their performance was inconsistent. New York went up 3-0, but allowed New York Red Bulls to get 2 goals on the night, getting really close margins. In their game against Atlanta, a 4-2 loss to Atlanta United 2, New York City FC went up 2 goals early on and then conceded 4 unanswered, dropping that game 4-2. And action is underway at Belsam Stadium. See NYC in their home blue kits. Playing the ball back and under pressure by Fleming from Chicago. Chicago trying to settle across their back line now. Playing up now to Glasgow. Turned over on the left flank, and New York is pushing forward. Foul now here as New York draws the foul and pushing forward on that far side. Foot race there on the far end line. Chicago comes away with it. Defender trying to shield the ball, and it's going to be an early goal kick for Chicago. Chicago playing out of the back now, trying to build something from their back line. Instead played back to New York's goalkeeper. Hochschild being chased down, able to gain it. Couldn't really stop it on that end line, and Chicago is going to get an opportunity for a throw-in in a very tough spot on the field for New York to defend. Amari Glasgow with the throw-in for Chicago, plays it back to Reynolds. He looks to switch the field, almost gets taken out by a New York player. Chicago progressing through the midfield. Galena plays it through. He has Glasgow on the overlap, cross through the middle, deflected out. Chicago gets an early corner opportunity here at Belsam Stadium. Sergio Orahel taking the corner kick for Chicago Fire. Here comes the service, low through the middle, deflected out of the 18. Chicago regains on the back line, plays it back to Miskovic. Reynolds looking for his options. Under pressure, has to play it back to the keeper. Long ball over the top and a good ball over in, looking for Orahel, plays it through the middle. Rodriguez looking to slot it through. Orahel again. Back, top of the 18, cut inside, shot, and it's in! An early goal for the Chicago Fire, too. Gets them up 1-0 in the 4th minute of play. Charlie Ostrom leads the goal team already with 4 goals this season, and that makes it his 5th. He's waiting patiently at the top of the 18, cuts inside, puts it on his right foot, and sends this one in the back of the net. Keeper couldn't do much with that. Chicago Fire with an early lead here in Queens. New York not in a place where they wanted to be, down an early goal at home. They're 5-3-0 at home this season. In contrast, Chicago 3-3-2 so far on the road. Battle through the midfield, getting played back to New York's back line. New York under pressure, turned over on the sideline by Glasgow, plays it back to Reynolds. Reynolds under pressure, has time through the midfield. New York cutting off passing lanes. Trying to push forward is Elias. Cutting in, and he's dispossessed. Bad pass, but it falls back to New York. A shot from distance, and that's in! And we are all evened up in the first 5 minutes of play at Belsom Stadium. NYC getting on the board and answering back after conceding an early goal. This was an errant pass from Chicago, and it just falls to the feet of Beer. And he's able to slot this one right back into the back of the net. And everything is evened up. Jack Beer, he leads the team with 7 assists, and now he has his 3rd goal of the season. So an eventful game between these two already here at St. John's University. The last 2 times these teams have met, there was high-scoring games all around. Each held the opponent to a clean sheet when they met. That won't be the case this time. But goals early on in this match, and that one from New York coming off an errant pass from Chicago through the midfield. Reynolds sends it in through the middle, deflected, and a bit of a collision there at the top of the 6. And this one's going to stay with Chicago for another corner kick attempt. Orahel again on the service. Here it comes into the box, headed away from New York. Falls outside. Reynolds plays it back to Orahel. Keeps it on his feet. Good movement to get around the defense. Time and space on the ball, and an arching ball from the back. Rochester thought he had an opportunity to maybe chip it back in. Not on frame, however, and New York takes over. Chicago showing some early press on those goal kicks, trying to put New York under pressure in a dangerous spot. Chicago playing out the back to the feet of Miskovic. Finds Noah Egan. Working up this right sideline again. Reynolds looking for Glasgow. Out wide, Reynolds has space. Sends it in, runners there. Can someone connect? Oh, it's broken up by New York's back line. A great string of play from Chicago up that right sideline and good passing through the box. A big key to Chicago's game is being a box-to-box team. Head coach Ludovic Talliander told me that they want to get numbers forward quickly and often. He wants to make sure that they always have options in the attacking third. They want to control the ball, win the ball fast, and apply pressure quickly. Burks plays it up, falls back to Egan. Egan with lots of time, looking to go downfield. He keeps it on the ground, instead passes it to the opponent. Turned over on the far sideline, and a tough foul coming in from behind. New York will take over right about midway of the field.
All right, Blue, keep working, guys.
New York working up the near end line. McFarland on the ball. Trying to push forward, he has to play back. Service now breaking that final line of defense, goes right into the hand of Miskovic. Chicago playing through the lines. It's broken up in the midfield though, and back now to Yagudayev. New York's trying to settle. Here comes Chicago though on their tails. New York possessing on the far end line. Quick 1-2 passes, trying to get around Chicago's press, forcing the play back. And this is where Chicago wants to turn New York over in these vulnerable situations. Hauschild doesn't have the options he's looking for down the field, has to play it quick back, and now across the middle to his fellow center back. Breaking run from New York into the box, broken up by Chicago at the last minute. Good defensive play, keeping pace with that fast offense of New York. Great job with that defender right there to just get enough of his foot in to break up that pass, because New York was on a fast break and had runners really striding right into the box and had good position on goal. New York corner right now. Service in short and falls outside the box, cleared away from Chicago. And New York doesn't know they have a lot of pressure on their back from Glasgow. Forces New York to play back. Great job by Glasgow by putting that pressure on. Hauschild didn't know, looked like he didn't know he had somebody right on his tail. McFarland. Back to Hauschild. Looking downfield, he plays it across. Trying to switch the field of possession, open things up on the far end. Chicago very quick in their defensive movements, making sure they're cutting off those passing lanes of New York, even when they switch that point of attack. Dennis curling around the defense, trying to get around Reynolds. Plays back to McFarland. Dennis again. Reynolds picks up, taken down. No foul for the ref. Chicago keeps it in. Glasgow barely does it. He switches the point across the midfield. Taken over by New York. Second ball won by Chicago. Still bopping around a bit through the midfield. New York has momentum. On their feet, a ball into the 18. Just a little too much on that one for runners going forward. Chicago's able to hold the pressure off for now. play it back in on a goal kick. Egan out wide to Reynolds. Hooking up again with Glasgow, has to play it back. Turned over again, Chicago. Elias out wide, finds the feed of Glasgow. He's going forward. Plays it through the midfield. They have runners going forward. New York getting defensively set. Out wide into the 18 and dribbles out. Keeper trying to make sure it stays with New York and not go out for another corner kick for Chicago. Chicago really pushing that back line of New York back into their defensive third, making it impossible for them to really press forward and pass through those defensive lines. Chicago settles. Fleming plays it back. Egan to Reynolds. Back to Miskovic. Glasgow dispossessed by McFarland. A battle there on that near sideline. New York comes away with it. Can't press forward just yet. Ben Alcazar plays it back for New York. Keeper way out of his box, playing amongst the back line. Ball cuts through the midfield and slide taken out. New York, they get the advantage for now, and they'll get the foul right outside the 18. And then a late collision, it looks like, between New York and Chicago's goalkeeper. And a yellow is awarded. The first yellow of the night in the 16th minute of play. And that's Matthew Dylan Myers who gets the yellow card. Currently leads the team with 10 goals, 44 shots, 20 shots on goal. Very much leads this offense. Here's a foul that New York is able to draw right outside the 18, and it's Myers who continues with it and just trips over Miskovic after he comes out to contain the ball. Looked like his momentum was still pulling him forward, so a yellow card for Myers, and New York gets to set up a free kick right outside the 18. Chicago looking for instruction from their keeper where that wall should be set up. John Dennis on the ball. He has 3 goals already this season for New York. Here comes the service, high into the net and into the hands of Miskovic. Took a bit of a deflection off his palms. New York was there, but he settled. Chicago pressing forward, playing through the midfield. Fleming tries to regain control, and now it's pushed up the far end line. Numbers going forward for Chicago, pass broken up by New York. Chicago follows through off the deflection. Fleming has Glasgow out wide, able to contain. Taking on his defender, pushes it outside. Looking to cross low through the box, deflected out. And New York controlling the ball, bringing it up the end line. Chicago, though, pushes it back. Miskovic able to get it to his feet, settle things down for Chicago's back line. Chicago, runners going forward, lots of pace. Looking for runners in the middle, just behind Galena. New York takes over, but Chicago trying to turn them over. Lots of space now as the game's getting a bit stretched. Lots of space through the midfield. New York decides to pass around the perimeter of the defense. They're under pressure. Rodriguez, that first line of press for Chicago. New York's trying to play it through the middle. Able to keep it on with the first touch, but then it falls out of bounds for New York. Chicago takes over in the attacking half. Justin Reynolds with the throw-in. Looking for runners, checking two, he finds Rodriguez. Turns his defender, plays it back. Keeper plays it out wide. Lots of space for Chicago. They can keep it on their feet. They can exploit it because New York is not pressing, trying to play through the middle. Bumbled first touch, and New York takes over. New York steady with possession, looking for options, not quick to pull the trigger quite yet. Yagudayev, the academy product. New York once again playing back. Couple lines of press coming from Chicago. You're doing a decent job right now is playing through the press. Long ball over the top, looking to play direct over those pressing lines. New York with time and space going forward. A bit of a tug, keeps going. Here comes the overlap. Service through the middle. Is New York there? Tripped up right inside the 18. No call for New York. Plays it out wide. Elias through the middle. Dennis on the ball. New York trying to take a shot, and he looks like he's jammed up right outside the 18. This is going to be their second free kick from around this area on the field. Alex Beeler setting up the kick a couple yards outside the 18. This was great movement from New York. You could see the ball getting played really well, and a trip up right there, right at the spot. But New York does a good job recycling play out wide, and eventually it was Beer who draws the foul outside the 18. He had the equalizing goal for New York. Service in, deflected by the wall. Gets played back to New York. Chip over the top, headed away. Under pressure from Rodriguez, played back. Rodriguez there again to put press. Alcazar keeps it in, plays it back to Elias. New York has space. They turn it over, though. This is where Chicago wants to be able to turn New York over. Alex Beeler calls the play dead. Both teams just have one shot on goal, and both of those shots turned into goals. It's an even game already through the first 24 minutes of play, and if you miss the first 10 minutes, well, you missed both of the goals. It was first Charlie Ostrom for Chicago getting them on the board early, and then just moments later, Jack Beer equalized for the hometown New York City FC. New York again looking for something to open up as they play across the back line. Glasgow settles, picks his head up, keeps it for himself. There's pressure on as pass gets deflected. Dennis on the ball. Ugadayev coming way outside the box to play amongst the back line. Serving as another defensive pass for New York. Not afraid of the pressure Chicago's showing. Rodriguez at first line again. Under pressure. Booted away. New York pinging the ball back and forth. Looking for something to open up further down the field. Chicago turns it over. They play it out wide. No one there for Chicago to get on the end on. New York is going to try to play out of this press. Glasgow turns them over. Reynolds gets it away. Rodriguez, a shot. Gets it off frame. It's going to be a goal kick for New York. Rodriguez in great positioning right inside the box. Good body positioning in front of net. Unable to get that one on frame, however. Here's how that play developed for Chicago. Good turnover there by Glasgow, playing out on this side by Reynolds, and then Rodriguez takes a shot on frame. His body's in good positioning, but that is a tough angle to go far post on. Glasgow long throwing into space, looking for Rodriguez down the flank. Playing at the top, gets broken up. Chicago stays with it. Didn't quite keep it in. It's going to be another New York goal kick. Quick to get things back in action. New York trying to press forward, plays back. Beer on the ball, plays it out wide. Defender is on, a long first touch, but New York stays with it. Out of bounds, but stay New York throw. Elias open through the middle, looking for someone to connect with him. Instead, New York plays it across the back line. Breaking one line of defense. Owusu. Benakazar plays it out. New York trying to connect through the midfield. It's turned over by these errant passes. Elias stays with it. He keeps it in check for New York. And the header pushes it out. Another New York throw. New York decides to throw it back to their back line. Yagudayev, again, way outside the 18, passing amongst his defenders. Pretty calm on his feet. A skill that many teams are asking their keepers to be able to have now. Not just being able to boot it down the field, but being calm and poised on the ball. Having good feet, a good first touch is something all keepers across this league and MLS need to have. Chicago looking to switch the play. Broken up. Glasgow trying to stay with it. New York has momentum going forward. There's an overlap run on the left. They take it through the middle, taken off of the ball. Chicago progresses forward. And New York draws a foul, and there's another yellow being drawn out. Second yellow of the match. Handed out to Christian McFarland. Chicago waiting to get this ball back into play. It's Noah Egan on the ball. Plays it across the field. Egan again with time. He looks to play way direct. Long ball over the top. Glasgow is there. Can he battle off his defender and keep it in? It's going to be tight. He keeps it on the end line, just barely rolling it across, and he gets a nice deflection off New York's feet, and it's going to be another Chicago corner. Great hold-up play by Omari Glasgow. He knew the defense was on. That long ball at the top worked to get their numbers in behind. And Glasgow was able to hold it up top, wait for runners to come in, and even though that New York defense collapsed on him, he used it to his advantage, drawing another corner kick for Chicago Fire. Service coming in, far post, headers, sails into the back stands. Ball in over the top, broken up through the midfield. Chicago trying to stay with it. Looked like the ref took a tumble there right about the center circle. Glasgow on the ball, looking to play forward. Can't curl into his teammate, instead curls right to the hands of Yagudayev. Chicago congested on this near sideline. Egan plays it back. Burke. Chicago plays it out wide. There's a little bit of New York press coming in now. That press is going to have to be very selective by both teams, as it is a hot and muggy night. 90% humidity in Queens, New York. You know that air is starting to feel thick. Those legs can feel heavy very early on. They have to pick and choose when is the right times to implement that press and make sure that they're not exhausting themselves any more than they need to be. Chicago draws a foul on the far end line. They'll have a restart in the attacking third as the neon lights from a nearby fair festival light up the stadium in the background. comes service for Chicago. Long into the box, takes a couple bounces, dribbles out of bounds, and New York takes over on a goal kick. Here's a service from Chicago. A nice ball. Takes a nice little dip. Looks like it bounces off the head of one or two players, and just no one able to connect, even though there was a runner far post. Housechild picks his head up. He plays direct, switching the point. Tries to connect down the field. There is a bit of a connection, but it ends up dribbling out. Chicago picking their head up down the field, instead plays it out wide to Glasgow, who's been on the ball quite a bit this first half, really making his presence known both on this near sideline and through the midfield. Benakazar plays it back. Elias. New York playing it over the top. Runners in on that far end line. Cross through the box. Who's there? And it's in the back of the net. Chicago tried to make a last-ditch defensive effort, but instead New York just had a little more momentum on their side, and the home team is up 2-1 in this first half. Great ball in across this 18. You can see Chicago making a last-ditch effort trying to slide it in. But New York is able to get on the end of it. What a physical goal there for New York to be able to go up. And it's John Dennis who gets awarded with the goal. His 4th goal of the season. Gets the home side up in the last 10-ish minutes of the first half here at home. Despite conceding an early goal in the 4th minute to Chicago, New York has now answered back with 2 goals, one in the 6th minute and one just now in the 36th. Chicago turns the ball over. Elias looking forward. Myers plays it back. Now it swings out wide. Pressure coming from Chicago. New York stays. Housechild plays it out wide. Elias with the back heel. Who's there? Coming into the box, taken over by Chicago. Fancy little play up top from New York, getting creative in the attacking third now with confidence and a 2-1 lead on their side. And 2 players trying to take a throw in at the same time doesn't always work out. New York will take over again, this time with just 1 player throwing it in. McFarland goes short, gets played back. Combo play with him and Dennis. Down the line, Dennis crosses, deflected out. New York gets another corner kick. Service in, bopped out. Falls to Chicago, they clear it out. Only New York players back, but here comes 2 Chicago players racing to get there. Yagudayev plays it out. Throw in on the far end line for New York. Here comes the press again from Chicago. McFarland trying to connect, just that rebound pass, a little too much on it. Glasgow takes over for a throw in with Chicago. Glasgow looking for options. He finds New York. Turns the ball over. Elias looking to play downfield, connects through the midfield, but Chicago's there to break up the second touch. McFarland. Long ball over the top. First touch is for New York. Second gets pushed away. Good run on the far end line, getting physical. New York stays with it. Crossing ball, switch the possession. Glasgow heads it back to Miskovic. Final 5 minutes of play here in the first half at Belsam Stadium in Queens, New York, on the campus of St. John's University. Chicago with lots of time, making sure they're connecting these passes across the back line. Egan. Breaking lines, Glasgow all by himself. Picks his head up, cross, no one running far post, but great service in from Omari Glasgow. He's been really dominant on the near sideline. Lots of speed, but also a great first touch. He has so much time and space, picks his head up. Really good placement there. He had Rodriguez more centrally, but if a runner was running that far post route, could have been a good connection there for Chicago. Service in for Chicago. Falling near post, headed away. Glasgow shot. Trying to go near post, hits the side netting. New York will take over on a corner kick, or on a goal kick, excuse me. Here's the service in from Chicago. Long arching ball, gets headed away, and Glasgow's just in really good positioning, settles off his chest, has a good look on frame, but instead hits that side netting, unable to really whip that hip around, get it on frame. New York breaking lines. McFarland with speed, trying to beat Glasgow. He's there to turn it over. Plays it down the line. Rodriguez pushed off the ball. Egan tries to save it. Stays New York. McFarland looking for options, goes short. Dennis on the ball, plays it back. Benokazar. Calmly plays it to his defender. Halschild to Yagudayev. New York trying to play through the middle, gets dispossessed, but also draws the foul. They've been able to draw some pretty good fouls in the attacking half of play, New York, setting themselves up for a couple good set pieces. Two right outside the 18. This one's going to be midway between the 18 and the center circle. McFarland plays down low. Dennis has options down the line, plays it back through the midfield. Housechild. Gudayev out wide. First half winding down. Long ball in for New York, headed away for Chicago. Falls again. Shot from distance goes way off frame. Chicago has a moment to regain themselves. Chicago swings the ball out wide. Glasgow again plays it through the middle. A bad first touch there. Going forward, he had time and space up top. Reynolds unable to control it. Final moments of regulation of first half ending, and we're being told there is 1 minute of stoppage time. Chicago still looking for a late equalizer to head into halftime, all evened up. New York coming back from an early 1-goal deficit, conceding the first goal in the 4th minute of play, has answered back with 2 goals. New York breaking the lines. Myers passes up, looking for Dennis, instead found Chicago. Back to Miskovic. Chicago, final moments now, playing direct over the top. Rodriguez there to control, waiting for runners to come follow. Bodied off the ball a bit, no foul. New York will press forward. Owusu, and that is the halftime whistle at Belsum Stadium in Queens, New York. Our score at half is NYCFC 2, Chicago Fire 1. Goalie Wars is coming up in a few days. Later next week is the MLS Next Pro
Invitational. 3 MLS Next Pro teams will travel to Salt Lake City to face off against 2 European clubs in the league's annual international competition. I'm Michelle Montaigne, alongside Samara Perez, with everything you need to know about the 5 matches spanning 8 days in Salt Lake.
The MLS Next Pro trio in charge of defending the invitational title includes 2 teams already familiar with the competition, Real Monarchs and Colorado Rapids 2. They'll be joined by Western ally Whitecaps FC 2.
Now, across the 5 matches, there are a couple things to keep an eye out for. First and foremost, last year's top performer of the entire competition came from host side Real Monarchs. Tyrone Mondi stood out on last year's international stage. Look for him to try to repeat that in 2023. And second, remember, the competition is based on points per league at the end of all matches, not per individual teams. Earning points follows the same format as regular season scoring in MLS Next Pro, so each MLS Next Pro club is looking to earn as many points for the host league. Last season, MLS Next Pro came out on top with 10 total points across all matches.
The league also went unbeaten in last year's edition. The 2023 Invitational kicks off on July 18th with Hoffenheim under-23s taking on the best Western Conference side in Rapids 2. The midweek contest continues the following day with the return of former MLS Next Pro head coach Darren Powell meeting with Jamison Olave's Real Monarchs. Friday features a European battle with the German side facing the London team. On Monday, Hoffenheim under-23s take on the team that accumulated the most points in last year's challenge. The competition wraps up with the Eagles going up against the Young Caps on July 25th. fans from around the world will be able to watch the MLS Next Pro Invitational exclusively on MLSnextPro.com. For those interested in attending, there are tickets available on rsl.com. Michelle and I will join you from Salt Lake, so we'll see you again real soon.
Also in July, 2 MLS Next Pro clubs will host Wrexham AFC during the popular European club's U.S. tour. LA Galaxy 2 will host Wrexham on Saturday, July 22nd. Then Wrexham heads east to face Philadelphia Union 2 in the hometown of celebrity co-owner Rob McFarland on Friday, July 28th. All of these matches will air exclusively on MLSnextPro.com. Huntsville City poured in a club best 6 goals, and both LA teams won at home on the same day for the first time all season. Michelle and Samara take us through Match Day 16 with this week's edition of the Match Day Rewind.
Match Day 16 saw plenty of firsts, records broken, and streaks extended. Alongside Samara Perez, I'm Michelle Montaigne with your Match Day 16 Rewind.
The weekend also saw 2 new strikers reach the top of the Golden Boot standings. The first, OCB's Jack Lynn. The 23-year-old netted his 10th goal of the season in stylish fashion. Lynn had perfect chest control when receiving a cross inside the box, then proceeded to blast it right past Huntsville City FC's keeper. The second player is NYCFC 2's Matt Meyer. He also reached double digits after chipping in a loose ball over Red Bulls 2's goalie. Meyer's stupendous scoring form as of late has propelled him to the top, with half of his goals coming in his last 4 games. Atlanta United 2's Nick Firmino has some serious competition.
And the keeper for Verdos, now in a category all his own. Damian Loss with his 9th clean sheet of the season. The goalie, who will showcase his skills in next week's Goalie Wars Challenge at MLS All-Star Skills Challenge in DC, has set a new record for most clean sheets in a season. Loss has only allowed a single goal in the last 630 consecutive minutes of play and has only given up 10 on the season.
Now, we mentioned the New York teams a bit earlier, however, they deserve their own spotlight in the Rewind. MLS Next Pro's Hudson River Derby delivered some serious thrills. Neither side was able to open the scoring in the first half after many attempts. But in the second half, it was goals galore. The boys in blue put 3 on the board by the 69th minute, but that did not stop Red Bulls 2 in attempting an epic comeback. Even though they were down to 10 men, they still managed to score 2 goals in the span of 1 minute to get back in the game. However, the comeback fell just short. Matt Pilkington's squad won it 3-2, ending a 4-game losing streak.
As for another meaningful matchup this week, Tacoma moves into sole 3rd in the Western Conference standings and jumps to 1st in the Pacific Division with their 3-0 win over North Texas SC. They benefited from 2 own goals from North Texas SC, plus another Paul Rothrock goal gave the home side 3 total, while keeper Jacob Castro recorded his first professional clean sheet to secure another 3 points for Tacoma. Wade Weber's side has now won 4 straight, including 3 consecutive shutouts. The manager afterwards explains what he thinks might be leading to the clean sheet success.
I bake them banana bread if they get a shutout, right? And it's an incremental thing. So
Okay.
they got 2 loaves. They got 2 loaves for the shutout against Austin. They got 3 loaves for the shutout against Houston. If we get a shutout against North Texas, I'm going to be baking 4 loaves of bread.
So banana bread for the win.
We've got lots of intriguing matchups coming up in Match Day 17, so Michelle and I will see you back here next weekend with the best moments.
Just Just a few weeks ago, Vancouver's Levante Johnson became the 50th MLS Next Pro player to sign an MLS first-team contract. Samar Perez sat down with the 2023 MLS Super Draft pick to talk about his fast rise in the Whitecaps organization.
Hi everyone, we are back with a new MLS Next Pro player profile. I'm Samara Perez. Joining us from Vancouver, let's welcome in Levante Johnson, one of the most recent MLS signings. Levante, welcome and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Congratulations on becoming the 50th MLS Next Pro player to sign a Major League Soccer contract. How are you feeling about this incredible achievement?
I'm very, very grateful that the club, has signed me and seen the potential to try to push me up to the first team and hopefully get some minutes there.
Yes, Levante, back in December, you were chosen by Whitecaps FC as the 29th overall pick in the 2023 MLS Super Draft, and now you're officially a first-team signee. To what do you attribute your rapid success?
Honestly, the setup here is really, really world-class. You see guys from last year's MLS Next Pro team, Simon Betcher, Ali Ahmed, also making the jump to the first team. So seeing them also gives us that little bit of extra motivation to try to push. And if we start doing well, then obviously the first team staff will recognize that and promote us up.
Talk to us about what that transition was like from youth to becoming a professional soccer player.
In my youth days, I really only played for two teams, two clubs growing up, and my first coach was from when I was 8 to about 13, and he kind of laid the foundation. He was a really good coach. We were, I think, 10, 11, playing 3-5-2 formation, keeping possession. So it was a really, really eye-opening experience for me, considering I grew up playing basketball. And then after that, I went to Masters Football Academy kind of for the rest of my time until I left the country. But with Masters, he was Junior Groves was a really good coach for us. Taught me a lot of technical. There's a lot of things we could have learned. We learned from him, and then I made the jump and I went to Europe. I went to England for a couple of years, played non-league there. Was in Derby for a little bit, and decided to go to college to try to continue my dreams of becoming a professional soccer player.
Wow. You had a different sport there. You mentioned basketball. When did you decide that you wanted to pursue soccer instead?
Honestly, when I was 4 or 3, I had a basketball net, and Vince Carter was my favorite player for the Toronto Raptors. Grew up watching him and Tracy McGrady, and basketball was like my only love, my inspiration. And my mom forced me to go to a French immersion school, and at the French immersion school, they only played soccer. No one else played basketball, so I was kind of forced into playing soccer with the rest of my friends and ended up loving it. And I was pretty good, and they told me, hey, come try out for our team, and I made the team, and from there on, it was history.
Wow. And I have to ask, who's your favorite soccer player of all time?
All time, Thierry Henry.
Can you share what your college experience was like?
College was a wild ride. We started off kind of in if you're going levels in college, there's kind of everyone wants to play at the D1 level. When I first went in, I didn't get the chance to play the D1 level. I started off in JUCO and I started off in Florida. And we had a pretty successful year, ended up losing in the finals for our national tournament. And then COVID happened, so I had to find a new school because they closed our men's program. I ended up making my way to Utah to another junior college. So the Florida to Utah transition was pretty crazy. And but we had a really good team, ended up winning our national championship. And then I got my first D1 move. I went to Seattle University. We had another successful year there, won our conference, and then finally, my last move for my 4th school in the 4th year was Syracuse University. We ended up winning everything that was in front of us, literally.
Lots of moves there. What difficult challenges do you remember facing on your journey to professional soccer?
There's a lot, honestly, but the biggest one I'd say was adaptations to different environments, different players, different coaching styles. So, it's easier, I guess, when you're on a soccer team to adapt to different countries, different places, because when you get there, you kind of have your family already there that you just have to amend your chemistry and that relationship together, which we did well, and I have a lot of friends now all over the country.
Can you share with us what your first team experiences have been like?
So I originally was with the first team for preseason. So when I first came in, I was, the level was a lot different to college. It was faster, more technical, more consistent. And so it took a little bit to get used to at first, but as we went on and playing MLS Next Pro and a lot with the other guys, I've learned a lot, and I've adapted to the situation well. And so now playing with the first team is not as hard, and I quite enjoy it.
That's awesome to hear. Now, finally, tell us about what your aspirations are moving forward.
Obviously, as a soccer player, everybody wants to play games, everybody wants to be a regular starter. So first off, I want to establish myself well in the first team and kind of become one of those regular starters for the first team and give my impact on the game that way.
Levante, we are so excited for you. Congratulations once again on this huge move, and thanks so much for making the time to chat with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for kicking it with us. We'll catch you again next time.
Here's a live look at Belsum Stadium as we take a look now at the upcoming schedule for MLS Next Pro. You can see the MLS All-Star Game is taking place July 15th through 19th, and as league play continues, kicks off on Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern between Toronto FC 2 and Inter Miami 2. Majority of the matches happening on Sunday, however, and that's where a lot of the action is going to be taking place. The two top teams in the West are facing off. Colorado Rapids 2 hosting Austin FC 2. That's a 6 p.m. Eastern showdown on Sunday. And the home side tonight, NYC, will travel down to Mecklenburg Stadium to take on Crown Legacy FC, who are unbeaten at home. Chicago will also go on the road after this match again, head down to Orlando to face Orlando City B. It's a 2-1 score here at halftime. Here's how it all went down in the first 45 minutes of action. Chicago playing the ball out wide here, and they were able to get some nice overlapping runs. Falls to the feet of Charlie Ostrom, who puts this one in the back of the net, gets the visitors up early in the 4th minute, but just moments later, the home side answers back in the form of Jake Beer. A bullet of a shot coming outside the 18, and that is his 3rd goal of the season, evens everything up early on in the first half. As the first half progressed, New York had other great opportunities. This one, John Dennis streaking into the box, gets his foot on it despite a late effort by Chicago's defense. New York had a 2-1 lead. Good overlap play on this near sideline from Chicago, really trying to stay with it. And a good opportunity here by Rodriguez. Gets a little off frame, and that is how the first 45 went down. 2-1 is the lead for New York City FC over Chicago Fire 2. New York having majority of the possession here, 60%, 3 shots on target compared to Chicago's 1. However, Chicago has been putting a lot of pressure in the attacking third, and you can tell that by how many corners they've been able to draw. 4 corners total for Chicago Fire in that first half, and both teams passing pretty accurately, especially across the back line. Second half action is underway. One halftime substitution for the visitors. Chicago Billy Hensey checking in for Lamont Rochester on defense. Ball played back to Chicago's back line. New York trying to collapse on those passing lanes. Chicago playing through for now. Chicago through the midfield. Ostrom on the ball. Out wide. Out wide ball for Chicago gets out of bounds, and New York is going to take over on a throw. New York playing it out. Falling to the feet on the far end line. Looks like Chicago is able to take control, take advantage of the space going forward. Burks plays it through. Chicago dispossessed New York on the attack. Runners coming up on that near sideline. Hope Gunn is there. Gets played back. Play across New York's back line. Owusu plays it out wide. Chicago draws the foul through the midfield. And it's a quick restart for the Fire. Pressure coming in from New York. Chicago stays with it. Ostrom, the lone goal scorer for Chicago, finds Fleming. He switches the field, looking far and deep, trying to connect with his runners on the far end line. Able to keep it in, has a defender to beat. Through the center of the midfield, broken up, and it's going to be another Chicago corner. Rodriguez lights that service that was coming in for that far end line. Great job here from Chicago to get around the defense and also send this ball through. Rodriguez was there to clean up the pass if that got a deflection off from the keeper. And here comes the service from Chicago. Ball deflected away. New York going forward. Glasgow closing down. Falls into space. Who's going to get there first? Hope Gunn looking to settle. He has some runners going up. Beer plays it back. Owusu. New York with control. Taking their time, connecting these really important passes in the attacking third. Creating space with these give and goes. An errant pass there, and Chicago trying to take advantage. Fire pushing forward. Ball battled between, and Chicago draws the foul again right midway through the field. And that is a second yellow for Christian McFarland, which means he's sent off in this match. New York is going to have to play a man down. Here's the foul right here. Collision between McFarland right at the half field mark. And head ref Alex Beckler has seen enough. Second yellow for McFarland. So McFarland is sent off for New York. They will have to play the remainder of this match with 10 men on the field and try to keep this one-goal lead as the second half continues. Can Chicago take advantage of the extra space and the man advantage as this half plays on? Ostrom plays it out wide. Overlap has to get to it. Galena on the ball. Fleming through the 18. Blocked away. Headed outside. Galena again trying to body on the ball. It's getting mixed up right outside the 18. Trying to poke it through Chicago. New York clears. Takes a deflection off his own teammate's head. play's going to come to a halt. Looks like he was able to get to his feet, just taken off guard with that clearance. Took that one on the back of the head. Chicago now with control. Ostrom cuts inside, plays it through the mid. New York still pushing forward despite having the man disadvantage, playing with 10 men on the field. Chicago takes over, connects on the far end line. Picks his head up, trying to play across. Broken up, and it's Glasgow with lots of pressure. It's going to be a goal kick, and the ref is going to have something to say to Glasgow there. A little too much physicality there at the end of the play. New York now in a tough position, entered the halftime feeling likely pretty confident with a 2-1 lead and coming back after conceding an early goal in the 4th minute. They answered back with the equalizer in the 6th, and then John Dennis got them the lead late in the first half. Moments into the second half, however, Christian McFarland draws his 2nd yellow of the match, which means that's a red, and he is off the field. He will also miss the next meeting between these two teams, which will take place at SeatGeek Stadium in Chicago. Burks plays it out as his teammate is slow to get off the ground. It looks like to be Justin Reynolds, who's having some issues there right about half field. Reynolds, the outside back, doing a lot of good work on that far end line. He's up on his feet, even though he's holding his lower back. Jimenez takes over on a throw-in. Throws it back to Chicago keeper Miskovich, so Chicago can take over possession. Burke playing through, gets the ball back. Goes to Egan again. Down the line, Reynolds. Great speed, trying to turn around that defender. Cross coming in, header! Hits the crossbar, and that one was a lucky break for New York as Chicago looked to get the equalizer. Again, another great service coming from this far end line. And what a great header on frame by Chicago. It hits the crossbar, takes an unlucky bounce for Chicago, a lucky bounce for New York. And it results in a Chicago corner. Service in near post, falls out, and it'll be another Chicago corner. Service dribbles out. Chicago stays with it, however. Gets a lucky deflection. Chicago making another substitution, their 2nd of the match. Checking into the match is Mateo Kidd. He is replacing Justin Reynolds, who was slow to get up off the ground. but providing really good service on the far end line. See if Kidd can keep pushing forward, giving Chicago a lot of presence up top in the attack. Chicago's wingbacks really like to get high, get involved in the attack. Kidd on the ball. Galina. Shot from outside, off frame. Yagudayev did get a piece of it, however, and stays with Chicago for another corner kick. Service in, blocked away near post. Gets back to Chicago, long ball, far post, header, diving save, Yagudayev. Takes it over, tips it over his own goal. Chicago knocking on the door for that equalizer. Yagudayev with a great save. So Chicago sends this one out to recycle the play. And it's Egan who gets his head on it, and Yagudayev with a diving save. Finally, New York is able to get out of this pressure that Chicago has been putting on. Chicago looking to take advantage of playing a man up. Here comes a press again from Chicago. Long ball over the top for New York. Getting chased down by Glasgow. Plays it down the line to Kidd. Through the middle of Fleming. Kidd again. Kidd making the overlap. He has it on the near sideline. Called off sides. Chicago head coach Ludovic Taliander said a key to this match is sending numbers up forward aggressively. Now that they're playing with a man advantage, expect to see that even more so they can turn New York over right now. Shot from distance, takes it off the back. Falls back to Chicago. Played out wide. Ostrom. Shot headed away. Charlie Ostrom has the lone goal for Chicago, opened up scoring in the 4th minute of play as he and his teammates look for the equalizer. Burke. Galina plays it through. Contained by New York. Rodriguez stays with it, but Yagudayev comes out, controls for New York. Yagudayev looking to connect down the line. Turned over by Chicago, playing through the middle. Doesn't connect with Chicago. New York takes over. Jimenez with speed, lots of speed and pace and space, getting into the 18. He'll take it himself, gets turned over. Jonathan Jimenez, the great breakthrough for New York. He had his defender beat and he had lots of space to take on his own. Chicago made a good effort to cut off him at the last minute. New York service, far post, dribbles out of the 18. Glasgow trying to control for Chicago. Instead, New York gets it. Yagudayev again, far off his line. Trying to play it out of the back is New York. Long ball by Yugudiev. Glasgow takes over for Chicago. Ball deflected out, stays with the Fire. Burke. Or a Hell. Has options out wide, far end line. Good overlap coming from Kidd. Kidd trying to get the end of it. Service broken up. Chicago stays with. New York clears it out. New York's going to take over now on this free kick. Trying to play smart while playing a man down, but with a goal advantage. Hope Gunn cutting through the midfield. Switches the point, trying to connect far end line. A little too much on it. Glasgow containing it for Chicago. He has been so strong on the ball for the Fire, Glasgow. He's really smart, knows where he is in space, and is able to get himself a good position and get the Fire going forward. Chicago trying to play through New York's back line. Not finding too many holes just yet. New York has done pretty well holding their own, playing with just 10 men. New York are 5-3-0 at home this season. Yugudiev under pressure, playing out the back. Long throw-in for New York. Chicago takes over. Ball in over the top, falls into the hands of Yugudiev, and he's going to take his time, settle his team down, make sure everyone is in position so they do not get turned over in this position. Chicago again with the press. Hensey. It's Glasgow again, great effort there. He sends it through. A shot, Rodriguez sends it across, deflected out by New York. Yugudiev falls on top of it and took a couple of nasty bounces in the middle. Yugudiev sails this one out, looking for his team down the line. Fleming plays it back to Ostrom. Egan out wide. New York takes over. Chicago taking their time, seeing what they can open up with New York. Big cross, looking to switch the field. Connects. No one there to get on it. Ostrom looking far post, and instead he found a defensive player for New York who was able to break up that brilliant play from Chicago. Another corner for the Fire. Falls midway. Headers bopped around. Finally cleared out by New York. Chicago turns it over midway. Galena presses forward, a chip into the box. Dribbles out. New York will get a chance to control and contain this with another goal kick. Yagudayev. Chicago switching to the far end line. Fleming finds Glasgow. Broken up through the middle. New York sends it down the field. It's going to find the feet of Miskovic. Hasn't seen too much action here in this second half, which is a good thing for Chicago, being that they're playing with a man advantage. Ball down the line, doesn't have much of a destination. And it dribbles back to Yagudayev. Press coming on from Chicago. New York playing through, but Chicago able to turn it over. Rodriguez trying to slot this one past, broken up by New York. Great defensive play so far by Sam Owusu. He's doing a good job being able to cover a lot of space on that New York backline, making sure that even though Chicago is putting a lot of pressure on, they're finding crosses through the middle. Owusu seems to always be in the right position. Another yellow card being shown. This is going to be an interesting set piece for Chicago. Right inside the 18, halfway between the spot and the top of the box. Be interesting to see how New York prepares for this one. Chicago has a couple players over the ball. Service in, deflect it. Owusu again, right time, right place for the defender. More substitutions coming in for Chicago, trying to get some fresh legs on the field. Alan Rodriguez checking in for Henrique Galena.
Ladies and gentlemen, substitution for Chicago for the 71st minute. Coming out, number 39, Alan Rodriguez. He replaced number 42, Enrique Galena, also for Chicago. Coming on number 44, Noah Hernandez, who replaced number 32, Masael Rodriguez. Substitution, Chicago, 71st minute.
Chicago ball falls to the service in for Chicago, corner kick, headed out, shot deflected, falls back to the feet of Chicago's defense. Glasgow pushes it through. Glasgow chasing this ball down. Chicago an opportunity inside the box. New York plays it out. Trying to ask their own questions of Chicago's back line. Chicago doing a good job of trying to take advantage of the space that they're seeing. New York is going to take over on this free kick. Sending it way down the field. Finds Chicago's back line. Egan settles. Glasgow has his head up. Lots of runners going forward for Chicago. Glasgow there to beat the foot race. Can't beat the ball, though. It falls out of bounds. New York playing it out. Takes a deflection off Glasgow's back. Stays with New York City. A one-goal lead is always the toughest lead to hold on to in the game of soccer, and it's made even tougher when you're playing with 10 men. New York doing a decent job so far to stave off Chicago and their thwarting threats going forward. Chicago long ball, switching the point, headed out by Hope Gunn. New York stays with it. Jimenez, New York has yet to make a substitution. Chicago has made 4. Head ref having a conversation there with Rodriguez. Takes out a yellow. Alan Rodriguez, the second half sub, picks up a yellow card in the 74th minute. Hope Gunn crosses the field. Looks for his player down low. Chicago bouncing it back to Miskovic. Playing down the far end line, Glasgow again. Great pace. Cross in the box, broken up. Owusu again doing a great job tracking those runs. So while Glasgow is making those runs far end line for Chicago, Owusu is also making those parallel runs defensively to block off the cross. Chicago corner, far headed away. Long service in, booted out. Falls again. New York playing out. Numbers going forward for New York. A collision there between Glasgow and New York, and another yellow shown. Excuse me, Sergio Orahel gets a yellow. You can see the collision right there as New York's trying to go forward. Just a strong body on the ball.
In the 77th minute, yellow card, Chicago.
New York with the restart, playing direct over the top. Ref doesn't like this one either. Free kick for New York now in a little closer area than a corner would be. Haven't had too many opportunities in the attacking half, in the second half. They finally play over the top, play that direct ball, able to at least get in behind the defense and drawing the foul. You can hear the crowd getting into it at Belsum Stadium. New York inside the 18. Play called dead. Chicago will take over. Ostrom plays it back. Rodriguez plays it out wide. Lots of space for Chicago. New York defensively collapsing. Ball played to the top of the 18, cleared away. Hernandez looking out wide. Ostrom able to contain, long cross, header blocked. Falls to Rodriguez. Ostrom looking for the overlap. Almost connects, sends it in, headed away. Glasgow. Chicago dancing around the top of the 18. New York trying to just keep it off their pressure. Chicago swings it out wide. Trying to get good service here. Broken up by New York's defense. Chicago trying to stay with it. Fleming ends up on it. Long ball into the middle. Runner taken down. Shot. Bounces. Takes a deflection, but into the hands of Yagudayev. Hernandez upset. He was taken down right around the spot. Didn't get a call from the ref. And this arching ball, you can see Hernandez gets tripped up right around the spot. And the shot just goes wide from Kidd, who makes a crossing run through the box. New York slow to get on their feet.
What is the gentlemen, substitution. First for Chicago in the 81st minute, coming on, number 38, Alex Moniz. He replaced number 35, Sergio Origel. And substitution for New York City.
New York is making their first substitution of the night. Entering the match is Steven Bednarski. He's checking in for Jack Beer. And Chicago making another substitution. Alex Moniz coming in for Sergio Origel, who's sitting on a yellow. Under 10 minutes of play here at Belsom Stadium in Jamaica, Queens. New York has a 2-1 lead. Top of the 18, a turning. Can't get a piece of it. Chicago takes over. New York had a great opportunity there to ask some questions of Chicago's defense in the second half. Hernandez plays it back through the middle. Fire with numbers going forward. New York tracking back, cross through the middle, deflect it. And it's going to be another Chicago corner. Service in swinger high and arching, finds the head of New York's defense. Trying to play it out. Pressure coming in from Chicago, but they force a goal kick. Egan plays it through, deflected out. Chicago wants to get a quick throw in here. Playing it back to Kidd. Picks his head up, switches the field. A lot of time for both teams to get underneath it, and New York seems to win that second ball. Ostrom taken down in the process. Burks plays it back. Ball falling through the midfield. New York trying to settle. Runners going forward. He beats his defender. Jimenez coming through. Shot blocked. And taken into the hands of Miskovic. Jonathan Jimenez, great pace, and took advantage of all the space he had in front of him. Just the goalkeeper to beat, and he couldn't do that. Miskovic coming up big in that moment, getting the deflection. Looks like Chicago needs a moment to stretch out one of their players. Again, it is hot, humid, muggy in Jamaica, Queens today. Rain was coming in throughout the day, some heavy rainstorms, some thunder in the area. It was about 90% humidity at kickoff, so it's no surprise that Kendall Burks and other players might be feeling heavy in their legs considering how much they have been running. And for New York to have only made one substitute by now, playing a man down, speaks a lot about the fight within this team. And that's something head coach Matt Pilkington said about their last game. It was a 3-2 win against New York Red Bulls, and he said the fight was excellent, their performance was inconsistent. He wanted to see the fight continue with his team this week, but have better performance throughout the match, not have a dip in their play as the match went on. Drop ball gets played back into action. Rodriguez. Kidd turns. This glass go out wide. Cross coming in, headed away. Ostrom. 1-2 touch gets a little awry. Chicago keeps it in, barely. Not enough though. And New York is able to start it again on a goal kick. Long ball coming out of Yagudiev. Ball bops around a bit. Chicago throwing on the far end line. Fleming on the ball. He has lots of time, lots of space. Doesn't seem to be rushing much. Ostrom trying to connect through the middle. Falls back to Fleming. Rodriguez. Top of the 18. Cross coming in, deflected again. Sam Owusu. Chicago has had many opportunities on corner kicks this match. Haven't been able to convert on one yet. Plays it short. The 15th corner of the night. Send it in. Runners there. No one makes contact. It's going to be another Chicago corner. "16 corners for Chicago Fire. And a lot of that has to do with the pressure that they are putting on New York in this second half. We're ticking closer and closer to the 90th minute. We will have some stoppage time here in Jamaica Queens. But so far, New York has been able to hold on to their 1-goal lead, playing with a man down. Ball over the top. Possession is bobbled around. Chicago pushing forward. There's a collision there. Quick restart for Chicago. Trying to get their numbers forward quickly. Something they've been trying to do all game long. Big switch from the Fire. Tough to control, and it rolls out of bounds on the near end line. Ostrom frustrated he wasn't able to keep this one in. Hope Gunn, throw in for New York. New York, good pressure now. Coming into the box, beating defenders, staying with it. Miskovic comes off his line, he stays with it. It's blocked off. Great defensive runs by Chicago to get in behind their goalkeeper who came out, wasn't able to control it. And New York still trying to get that third goal on the night. Definitely still being brave in possession. We are in 4 minutes of stoppage time in the second half. Ball in over the top, and that is offsides from Hope Gunn. Rodriguez settling. Fleming plays it out wide. Working that far end line again. Chicago trying to send it through the box. Broken up. And it finds its way in the back of the net. We are even up in stoppage time of the second half. And New York looks defeated, giving up that equalizing goal. It was Amari Glasgow who gets the equalizer. Pressure right there, and Glasgow comes in with so much pace. He's been making those strong runs all night long, and that one pays off in the form of an equalizing goal. His fourth goal of the season. Get Chicago back even. Chicago has been dominant this second half, playing a man up. Gets the equalizer, looking for the game winner now in the final 2 minutes of stoppage time. Of course, if this one remains tied 2 apiece, we will go to a shootout, kicks from the mark. Chicago has gone to 5 shootouts this year, have yet to win 1. Given that track record, Fire will likely want to be able to win this one in regulation. Hernandez plays it off. Coming through the middle. Ugadav comes up, takes the ball. Final minute now, stoppage time. Long ball down the line. Chicago pushing. Runners coming in. Cross coming through, deflected out. Owusu again, right position. Cuts inside. Stays on the ground. Shot! Huge save by Yagudayev. Launching himself to the upper 90 to make sure to keep this one out of the back of the net. Chicago doing a good job, gets enough space, and a diving save there by Yagudayev, the academy goalkeeper. Service coming in, broken up. Still in play, but that is going to be the end of regulation. And Chicago finds a way to equalize late in stoppage time. Final score at the end of regulation is 2 apiece. MLS Next Pro has a unique feature when the score is tied after 90 minutes. Michelle and Samara have more.
In MLS Next Pro. If a match ends in a tie at the end of regulation, the game will proceed directly to a shootout with kicks from the penalty mark.
That brings us to the point system. Similar to other soccer leagues, a team will earn 3 points with a win at the end of regulation, 1 point for a tie, and 0 points for a loss in regulation. A club will earn 2 points if the game ends in a tie and they go on to win the shootout that Samara just explained following the end of regulation.
New York has headed to a shootout just once this year. We're unsuccessful in that attempt. Chicago Fire has gone to 5 different shootouts, have yet to win one. Head coach Ludovic Taliander told me that it's psychological at this point. It's hard not to realize for this team to take in the effect that they have yet to win one of these shootouts. The pressure keeps mounting. He said the more you miss, the more you think about missing. He wants his team to go to these kicks from the spot. Think more about the process, not the result. Pay attention to their approach, how confident they feel approaching the ball and taking their kick, not thinking so much of making sure it goes into the back of the net. But a lot of this is just a mental game, deciding where to go. These teams this is the first meeting between these two sides this season, so they have yet to see each other in this type of situation. Neither goalkeeper has had to try to stop a penalty kick from the opposing team. And so it's all based off of the prep that they've been able to do and just the confidence they're able to give off when their number is called. And it's been an exciting one. It's been an exciting one here in Jamaica, Queens, at Belsum Stadium on the campus of St. John's University. Scoring opened up in the 4th minute of play by Charlie Ostrom, got Chicago on the board, and New York answered back quickly in the 6th minute. Jack Beer evened things up at 1 apiece in the second half, and then John Dennis put New York up 2-1 at halftime. Second half proved to be a real big opportunity for Chicago, given that New York was given a second yellow card in the likes of Christian McFarland. He was sent off with his red card, making New York play with 10 men. Chicago kept asking tons and tons of questions of New York's back line, eventually found that equalizer by Amari Glasgow, who has been playing so well during regulation. He evened things up 2 apiece at the end of that second half. And here we find ourselves in another shootout. Looks like the ref has finally decided which side these teams will be kicking into. Looks like Chicago will be taking the first kick from the spot.
Chicago will kick first. Now shooting for Chicago, number 44.
Second half sub Noah Hernandez is up first, and the shot, and it's in. Chicago goes up 1-0. New York now approaching for their first kick.
Now shooting for New York,
John
number
Dennis.
38, Johnny Dennis.
Scored the second goal for New York this match. Here's his approach. Shot saved!
At the end of the first round, Chicago
Miha Miskovic saving this one.
0. Now shooting for Chicago, number 43, Noah Egan.
Noah Egan up for Chicago. Shot in the back of the net. Chicago up 2-0. A nice swift approach there by Noah Egan, and he's able to slot this one in the back of the net.
For New York City, number 42, Piero Elias.
New York trying to get on the board. And up next is Pedro Elias. Quick approach, shot. Goes right down the middle, and New York gets one on the board.
New York City 1.
Goes right down the middle as Miskovic goes to his left.
Now shooting for Chicago, number 48, Charlie Ostrom.
Charlie Ostrom now for Chicago. Scored the opening goal in the 4th minute of play. Here's his kick, and it's in. Lower 90 for Ostrom. Chicago's up 3-1.
Now shooting for New York City, number 33, Nico.
Here's Ostrom, and finds the back of the net easily. New York with an opportunity. Shot. Gets it in.
Round number 3, Chicago.
And it's 3-2.
New York City 2.
Chicago has been perfect
Now shooting for
from the
Chicago,
spot so far.
number 46, Mateo Kidd.
Mateo Kidd, another second half sub. Takes a deep breath. Here's his approach. Shot. He goes upper 90. No way the keeper's getting that one. Mateo Kidd puts that one back.
Now shooting for New York City, number 27, J.J. Jimenez.
Jonathan Jimenez for New York. Here comes the shot, and that one is in. 3-4.
Number 4, Chicago 4, New York City 3.
Jimenez able to really get this one past the keeper. Chicago up next, Alex Monis.
Now shooting for Chicago, number 38,
One of their 5 second half subs.
Alex Monis.
Here's Monis, and it's in. Chicago's up. Oh, and he's got the stanky leg for the celebration, and Chicago wins their first shootout victory. After 5 different attempts on their 6th one is the golden opportunity. Chicago is able to pick up 2 points on the road here in New York City. Their first shootout win of the year. Pressure is now off of them going into the rest of these shootouts as they lift up Monis in celebration.
Chicago 5, New York City 3.
And our man of the match, presented by Adidas, is number 38 for Chicago Fire 2, Alex Monis. He put away what would be the game-winning kicks from the mark. Great shot here. Keeper guessing in the wrong direction, and he's able to send he and his teammates home with 2 points from New York City. Chicago draws it up 2-2 in regulation after going down 2-1. And now they get to go home with 2 points under their belts.
The NYCFC first team will be back at home next week as they host 2 matches of the group.
Our final score here, 2-2 in regulation between NYCFC and Chicago Fire, with Chicago Fire winning in the shootout. For our entire MLS Next Pro crew, I'm Marissa Pilla. Once again, our final score, 2-2 in regulation. Chicago wins in the kicks from the mark. Thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening.
This copyrighted broadcast of MLS Next Pro may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcasted without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.